have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby.
Who is that?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson. So grateful that you've joined me for another episode of the Happy Families podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. Today, answers of a kind of frightening but very important kind. I have a guest joining me, Madonna King, the author of 10-Ager, Being 14, Fathers and Daughters, and more. But a brand new book that she has co-authored with John Rouse. I'll let Madonna tell you all about who John is in a moment. The book is called Saving Our Children. Madonna, so grateful that you can join me for this podcast. Saving Our Children, it sounds a little bit alarmist. Tell us about the book, why it's in existence, and who John Rouse is and why that's so important.
Well, it is alarmist, to be honest. It was confronting writing it, lots of tears, and confronting reading it too, I think. Inspector John Rouse is probably the global expert on investigations into what's happening online in relation to child sex offences. So he ran Task Force Argos, he's worked with the FBI and the Interpol, and both FBI and Interpol say to me, there is no one better in the world. He's done this for almost 40 years and he retires this year. And so I sat down with him for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days and revisited some investigations and just I got into his mind about what worries him as a parent, what he's seeing and what our children aren't telling us. And that's what I find alarming, Justin.
What our children aren't telling us. I want to share a story with you. I got an email about, maybe 6 months ago now. And actually, before I share the story, just a quick warning for parents of younger kids. By all means, let your teenagers or even some of your older tweens listen to this conversation. It's important. But we are going to be talking about things of a sexual nature and of an abusive nature that occur online. We'll keep it PG rated, but please be mindful of the content. So the email that I received, Madonna, I'm sure that this is probably only scratching the surface of what you describe in Saving Our Children. But the email came from a mum who said, I don't know what to do. Here's what's happened. And she essentially explained that her son had come into her bedroom at about 11 o'clock at night in tears. He was about 16 years old, sobbing and saying, Mum, I'm in so much trouble. I don't know what to do. Just heartfelt, gut-wrenching sobs. And when she finally helped him to breathe a little bit and have a hug and calm down, he explained that he'd been on Instagram. A really gorgeous girl had slid into his DMs and started messaging him. Within a very short period of time, I'm talking 10, 20 minutes, she'd sent an explicit image of herself to him saying, would you like more of this? He obviously, being a 16-year-old boy, said, yes, I probably would. And she said, I need one as well. And so he took a photo of himself and sent it to her. Her next message was her describing that she was not who she said she was. She was actually somebody living overseas, a middle-aged male, essentially. And if he didn't pay, I think it was $500 in Bitcoin within the next 15 minutes, the image that he had sent of himself was going to be shared with everybody on his friends list on Instagram and on his other social media. Then this person sent screenshots of all of his friends on his various social media accounts, showing that they did have the capacity to send those messages explaining who the image was and $500 right now. He sent the $500. It was everything he had in his bank. And then a second message came through saying, now I'd like another 5,000. And at that point, he freaked out, realized that he was in way over his head and went to his mum. So she came to me and said, what do I do now? I'm really, really stuck. This is known as sextortion. What I'm interested in is how common is it?
Too common. And can I just say to that mum, she has done something so right that he came to her.
Oh, yes.
Because police are saying there's 100-fold increase in complaints. This is happening in each of our capital cities and rural areas today. It may involve a girl or a boy, entirely different approaches, and we can go into that. But it is really, really common. You know, in the US, tech providers have to report suspicious online child abuse to this National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children. Then they fan those tips out worldwide. Last year, it received 32 million suspicious reports. They passed them on to 150 countries, and about 180,000 of them related to Australia in some way. The thing is, Justin, this is happening now. Quicker and quicker each day. Some, particularly boys, are responding within 3 hours with a picture of themselves. Others, it takes weeks. And with boys, it can happen between the ages, I guess, of 12 and 24, which is quite late, really. With girls, it usually is, say, maybe 12 to about 18. So the number of complaints we know about are only those whose children went to a parent or a school often, who then went to police. So how many times is this happening today that you and I don't know about, but parents don't know about either?
It's the kind of thing where you just think, how is this happening? Like, and one thing that stands out to me is, like, on parental guidance, when we did the child safety online issue with the kids playing a game and being approached by a stranger, and we had the Australian Federal Police involved in that as well, the parents said to us, but we've had these conversations with our kids. We have talked to them about it. We can't believe that it still happened. Why do you think that our tween and teen girls and boys are being swept up in it? What is it about being online and having the experience? How do they get sextorted? Like, why aren't they just saying no? Because my parents told me that this is a bad idea.
So can I divide this between girls and boys? Because I think it is really, really different.
Yeah, because the process would be different, right? A girl is not receiving a picture of a guy and saying, oh, now I need to send a picture of myself, right? That's it. Girls and boys' brains work differently in this area. So it's got to be a different process.
Yeah, so girls are sent a picture of another girl who has seen her public friendship list, and she might say, oh, look, I think we know each other through netball, or I'm from this city, we have joint friends. None of our teens are saying no to joining up someone. So our girls are thinking they are talking to a peer.
Yeah, like a friend of a friend.
A friend of a friend. Now, the target is often a good girl, because it's normal to want to know about sex and things like that, but it's more difficult to ask your family or even to ask a friend face to face. If they're thinking they're talking about a friend of a friend, and that friend of a friend sends a picture of her breasts and says, do you think mine are a bit odd, or one's bigger than the other? Is that the same with you? This girl, the target, is thinking, oh no, mine are a bit unusual too, or something, and she's sending a picture of hers then back. And that's the point, which is quite innocent, and it is always a male, in every case I've seen, comes on and said, look, I'm sorry. Well, no, they don't say I'm sorry. I'm in America, and this is what you will do now. And in relation to girls, they don't ask for money. They ask for more intimate pictures. And, Justin, let me just say, I will never forget sitting, listening with police to, I feel like crying, listening to one video where, and I've put this in Saving Our Kids, where a girl is playing with a hairbrush in her room sexually on the orders of someone online. Her mum is about 4 meters away on the other side of the door calling her for dinner. Now, this person, who was a male who police believe is in America because of his accent, they believe the girl is in Australia because of the couple of words she said, but they can't find either. And I think she sent something, then she was too scared to go out and say, I've been sextorted. And once you do one thing, it's hard then not to do B, C, and D. With boys, it's exactly as you say, but the Nigerian bride scams and money scams and dating scams, they've just moved to sex scams targeting our teen boys. So they are set up in the Ivory Coast of Nigeria and the Philippines, these call centres. They give locals bonuses and money to ensnare Australian kids.
It's so warped. I'm sitting here, Madonna, and I just can't. I literally cannot conceive of the mentality of people who, like you said, they're set up in call centers. These are professional operations, right? It's not like obviously there are some there's too many perverts and creeps and weirdos who are out there who are trying to do this thing as well. But this is happening at an industrial scale.
Oh, so the boys are the call center. The girls are the online sex predators. Two totally different criminals.
Because the money's in the boys, right? You can get your
boys.
Bitcoin, or you can get you whatever you need with the money.
Yeah, and it's often we have had suicides as a result of this that are not reported. One boy was ordered to send $10,000. And if they say no, the AFP told me that they are asking them to set up a bank account in their name, let's say Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne. And Australia is becoming, what did they call it? The middle ring of a money laundering operation where money is laundered through these kids' accounts back to Africa or the Philippines.
So the kids just set up like a direct deposit sort of scheme.
Yep. And other money is sent through that. So this is happening at so many layers. And you know, can I give 2 tips now before we even go on? You know, John Rouse said to me, not one photo he's ever seen has been taken outside a bedroom or a bathroom. So if you are listening to Justin and me now, why the hell are we allowing any child? Why do we even have our phones in a bedroom or a bathroom? Because this makes it really difficult for children to do pictures like that. The second thing is, don't confiscate their mobile phone, because when I ask children, why don't you walk out and tell mum or dad, they fear I'll take their phone off them. We've got to make sure our kids come out and say we stuffed up by telling them how we stuff up all the time. And then they know that if they stuff up, it's not the end of the world. They can come out, and our job surely as parents and carers is to provide their backstop and get them help, and that is to then go to police.
Madonna, when you were talking to John, what did he say most parents do when they find out about this? What's the standard response from parents?
The problem is most parents don't find out about it. I know a Brisbane school is now dealing with several cases, a Sydney school, several cases involving girls. The Brisbane school involves boys. And in all of those cases, 100% of them, it was to a school guidance counsellor, a teacher, or a deputy principal. And so I think most parents that I know have done the right thing and gone to police, because you cannot deal with this yourself. You can protect your child and talk to your child and look after your child. I think the problem is at the other end, where 4 in 5 parents say there is no likelihood of this happening to their child. 97% do not list online grooming as a concern. Now, Bruce Morecambe, who lost his son, recently had his grandson an attempt at grooming, who was playing Roblox. He is 6 years old, and he's in the back of the car, and he says, "Pop, why does, let's call him Christopher, why does Christopher keep talking to me on my game?" And Bruce Morecambe said his blood went cold. He's lost his son, and he's thinking, what the hell? And he went back through the history, and it is the one person just offering his grandson advice on how to play Roblox and trying to contact him on a regular basis. He was being groomed. So it's these little things from chat functions, abilities to access your child on public friendship lists. The access is through so many different ways that I think I have 2 daughters, they've just left school, but if they were 13 or 9 or 15 now, we would be having an entirely different conversation. The phone is there. How do we protect our child from not what our children do, which is what the public narrative is, don't do this, be kind, do that, but how we can protect them from other people approaching them via computer games or chat functions or through sextortion. And that's a different conversation, Justin, than the one we're having in Australia about how we treat each other on social media. Does that make sense? I'm sitting here. I'm half crying and I'm half looking for a punching bag to hit, because it makes me so mad that our kids just can't be kids. That there are so many people with dark designs that are doing this. I want to do a summary here. Our time is all but up, and I feel like we could talk about this for the next 3 days. The summary is as follows, and you tell me if I've gotten anything wrong. First off, there are people out there with evil designs for our children. Our sons are being targeted for money.
They're usually being targeted by somebody pretending to be somebody that they're not, getting an image and then chasing dollars and extorting them or sextorting them that way. Our daughters are being targeted for imagery. Somebody pretends to be a friend of a friend, brings them into their confidence and gets an image and then starts the pursuit of more and more images, the sextortion.
Which they then just spread across the dark web around the world forevermore.
The next thing that we've talked about is the simple reality that there are people who have awful intentions, who are literally on every platform. It's not like there's one that's safer than any other, who are trying to contact our children in all kinds of helpful ways, pro-social ways, so that they can build trust and move them onto other platforms and treat them abusively, actually abuse them. The book is called Saving Our Kids. It's been written by Madonna King and Inspector John Rouse. Madonna, as we wrap up, I'm going to ask you to restate the tips that you've given, plus any others. You've got children who have just left school. But if they were going into grade 5, grade 6, or even grade 2 or grade 3, and certainly if they were in high school now, I want to know what you would do differently based on what you've learnt writing Saving Our Kids.
They would not have a smartphone until they're 13. They would not be on social media until it was permitted and with my guidance. They would never have a phone in their bedroom or their bathroom. They would not have any public list of friends. And I would work day or night asking myself this question: if they made a mistake and got in trouble, how have I dealt with them so that they would come out and say, Mum, or go to their dad and say, I stuffed up. I really need your help.
I'm sitting here almost weeping as you talk about this because it just doesn't seem right. That last point that you've made for me is the essential one.
Yeah.
We've got to have the relationship with our kids where they know that they can come to us and we've got their back. And hopefully parents have listened to our conversation now, Madonna. Hopefully they'll go and buy your book, Saving Our Kids. But hopefully, after listening to this, they'll re-listen with their kids and talk about it and just say, can you please talk to me if anything ever happens? You need to know that I'm safe. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want more of. The book is called Saving Our Kids by Madonna King. It's out today. You can find it wherever you buy your books, online, in-store, Saving Our Kids. Please buy it. Please have the conversation with your kids. Maybe even read it with them, especially if they're a little bit older. It's just so important. Madonna, thank you so much for the important work you do. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I wish we could keep it going, but good luck with the book, and let's hope that we actually do save a whole lot of kids because of this conversation and because of what you've written.
Thanks, Justin.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. Go and buy the book, Saving Our Kids, Madonna King and Inspector John Rouse. If you want more information about keeping your kids safe, I'm not going to send you to Happy Families right now, although we've got a whole lot of resources there. Have a look at the eSafety Commissioner's website. Have a look at the book. Do something to keep your kids safe.